All right, and we are here again, and we are back again. As always, I'm Matt.
I'm Drew.
And this is the Back Again podcast. This is the only review show that takes a sequel from the past and asks the question, is it worth going back again? We are continuing on our comedy sequel list, and today we are doing the follow-up to the 1992 Sister Act, and we are doing Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit.
The students of St. Francis have a problem with discipline. They don't have any. The faculty needs help from above. But they're going to find it in Las Vegas.
Sister Act 2 Back in the Habit comes out in 1993, is directed by Bill Duke, it is starring Whoopi Goldberg, Kathy Najimy, Lauryn Hill, Wenda McKenna, Mary Wicks, Maggie Smith, and Ryan Toby. So before we start talking about Sister Act 2, let's just go ahead and kind of get some stuff out of the way, because this was both our first times watching it, and
both of them, the original and the sequel.
The original and the sequel, and after watching it, we did some research on it, and I think it's safe to say that since its return to syndication, there's been a cult following with this movie, and many people have come out and they've proclaimed it to be not only inspirational to a generation, but some people have said that it's considered the standard in black cinema, right? That it's got a huge cultural impact, and it's also influenced the way that certain churches have viewed gospel music from back in the 90s going forward. Not to mention the fact that it's also kind of a debut of Lauryn Hill, even though she was already in the Fugees. It's been a big inspiration to a younger generation, and it's been a big influence in certain cultures. So with all that being said, I think it's great. I love that for the movie. I love all the impact that it's had on everybody. With that being said, still wasn't a fan of it.
Yeah, there's a difference between, because I think this is true, it is culturally significant for two reasons that you touched on. It got a lot of focus on two big stars. One of them was Lauryn Hill. The other one was apparently
Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Jennifer Love Hewitt, yes, because she blew up right after this. The other is it was deemed socially significant into how it portrayed gospel music and how it kind of blended that with different forms of music and how it represented African-American characters and African-American cinema.
Yeah.
However, a culturally significant movie is not also always a good movie. Because this movie has a lot of basic story flaws.
Yeah, and the thing is there can be two different things, and both can be true. You can have a personal experience with any movie for that matter. And this movie does go on to inspire shows like Glee or other movies that are about gospel music, and then it also resonated in other countries like Japan, where kids wanted to sing the Nuns.
Yeah, or just any media that dealt with, it was almost a new way of doing a musical.
Yeah,
of how to integrate music and performances into narratives.
Yeah, and even how it kind of finds its way on this podcast, not just because it's a sequel, but it's actually ranked in top 20 best sequels of all time.
It is? On what list?
Rolling Stone
has this as one of their best sequels of all time?
Amongst the 25 greatest movie sequels, but that poll was conducted in 2014.
Okay, still, damn.
So it definitely piqued my interest, because I guess I knew that there was a Sister Act sequel, but I'd only grown up with the first Sister Act. So when I was oh, that's right, we're doing the podcast, and I was looking up sequels, I was well, of course, Sister Act 2. I finally, because I had seen clips before of Lauryn Hill singing and stuff, so I just assumed it was a semi-decent movie.
I got the flow, y'all gotta go, so go get your bags so we can go. Ho ho. Now.
Right. Obviously, when you go to the Rotten Tomatoes scores, just to get into it really quick, the first Sister Act has a 75% on Rotten Tomatoes, and the second Sister Act has an 18%. Now, you can actually trace everything that we just kind of said back with also this Rotten Tomatoes score.
Because these are all reviews that were given at the time of the release, so around the early mid 1990s.
Yeah, but the reason I'm bringing this up is because the director Bill Duke did speak about this back in the day, and he says, quote, "The reviewers at that time could not really be linked to our communities or the message. As you know, the faces of the reviewers were very different than the viewers. So I was surprised but not shocked, because they didn't get us at the time. They didn't get the message and did not relate on an emotional level." So, at the end of the day, if this is a movie that has resonated with an audience over time after it's been available on streaming services or just been available for rental on DVD or VHS or whatever, yeah, I mean, I can see that being the case where like critics necessarily don't like it, because when you do break it down, and we'll get into this, the story itself is pretty wonky. And I was surprised by the story, but I can see, a younger generation kind of pushing past that and admiring things about it, especially with the way it portrays the communities and also just has this kind of overall positive message of music and togetherness.
I'll say, and this can be like just or at least my review right off the bat, you can't go into it expecting a good movie. It's not a good movie, but it is an emotionally resonating movie. So, we're kind of here with the podcast, judging it on quality, not how it makes a given audience feel.
So with that being said, I feel like we got all the positive stuff out of the way. Now just talking strictly about movie sequel plots, character arcs, and just the continuation.
The science.
Yeah, the story and
let's take away all the emotion, all the charisma, all the charm, and let's just boil this down to the bones.
But because it is like, it's
the bones don't connect. They don't add up.
It's commendable that they made a movie that they were trying to do something with, but at the end of the day, this still started somewhere else, where there was one movie and it made a buttload of money and they decided to make a sequel. So just jumping into now the plot of Sister Act 2, I was really surprised because I didn't know the plot to this, and I remember turning to you and being like, oh, I wonder if they're going to start with her already being a nun, and then somebody else is going to witness a crime, and then the cops take that new witness, send them to the convent with Whoopi Goldberg now, and they're going to help this next person kind of get through their trial or whatever.
At the exact same time, I turned to you and I thought the plot was going to be the sisters are coming back to get Whoopi Goldberg, who has now gone back to lounge singing, but now she's in Vegas instead of Reno. We'll get into the details later. And they were going to tell her, hey, this cop that put you in the witness protection program is now putting more people in the witness protection program in our convent, and we need your help integrating them into the nunnery so that, we don't have a bunch of yous running around like we did in the first one.
Yeah. And then I'll give you a third one, which I didn't tell you until now, which was I thought that Whoopi Goldberg was going to witness another murder.
That would have been great, yeah.
And then they send her to a different place, and she somehow integrates music into that as well. But the actual plot of this is that, like you said, she is singing now her own kind of main stage show. She's a headliner. She's got Dolores written in the background while she's on stage. And I guess, because I read this online, I guess that show that she was putting on at the beginning of the movie, that's actually a reenactment of the first Sister Act. If you track the songs, it goes beat for beat, what happened in her life and how she ended up here on the stage. Okay. I didn't really clock that at the time.
Either, yeah.
But then similar to what you said, the sisters from the convent show up and they tell her, oh, Maggie Smith needs your help. She was obviously running the whole convent in the first one. She needs your help again. So they rush her to Maggie Smith, and Maggie Smith says, well, I need your help because now we teach at a school, and we need you
in San Francisco.
In San Francisco. It's the same school that you went to when you were a kid, and we need you.
Maggie Smith doesn't know that.
Well,
Whoopi Goldberg tells the other nuns.
Yeah, she tells the other nuns that. But basically Maggie Smith says, I need you to become a music teacher and help us turn the school around because it's lost. And
it's an urban school in San Francisco.
Yeah, and it's on the brink of basically becoming sold or just it's slated for closure.
Okay.
So begrudgingly,
what a weird slated for closure.
Yeah. So begrudgingly, Whoopi Goldberg, Dolores, says, yeah, I'll do it. And then she takes on being the music teacher of this classroom of students that are all wild cards and they don't care about school.
Very School of Rock meets Stand and Deliver.
Yeah, exactly.
Except this movie came out for both of those, I think. They're not even bad kids. They just have attitude.
Yeah, she takes this classroom full of kids with attitudes and she's like, I'm going to teach you music. But then shortly after, she finds out that they're singing on the playground or just during recess.
They're rapping.
Yeah, they're rapping and they're singing on the basketball courts. And she is like, oh, well, now I'm going to turn you into a choir. And then when they become a choir, they find unity. And then the third act is that, oh, well, it turns out there's also the singing competition that the school used to win a bunch of all the time. Like the nuns find a bunch of old trophies. They're like, hey, this school used to be pretty...
I forgot that scene.
Yeah, look at these trophies. They used to like win trophies. So...
And apparently it would like supply them money because the award would give them money or at least like recognition.
I mean, maybe it might give them money. It's overall just going to put them back on the map of being like a respected school. So they sign the kids up for that, and then they win the competition, and then they save the school.
Yada, yada, yada.
I'll tell you what. So just breaking down that plot really quickly, the fact that this all started with the first sister act, where Whoopi Goldberg witnessed a murder from her boyfriend mobster.
Break down the first one now.
So in the first one, Whoopi Goldberg is singing in like a Reno club, but she's not singing on a main stage. She's just kind of singing while people are like, doing poker.
She's on the ground floor.
Yeah.
She's part of a trio at like a dive bar in Reno.
Yeah, and she's dating a mobster.
Mm-hmm.
And
she doesn't know he's a mobster. And all his dudes have like Boston accents, like Boston gangsta accents, and they're in Reno.
So she wants to break up with her boyfriend because he is not leaving his wife for her. And while she's in the midst of breaking up with him, she witnesses him and his goons committing a murder.
They killed his limo driver because he saw too much.
He saw too much, and he was like, no, he was going to the cops and talking to the cops.
He was a mole.
He was an
informant.
He was an informant because the cops have been trying to take down Harvey Keitel.
Yeah.
So once Whoopi Goldberg kind of runs away after witnessing the murder, she does go to the cops, and they decide to put her in a temporary kind of witness protection, but not really. They're basically just going to hide her somewhere until the trial.
It's witness protection until the trial, yeah. And the trial is going to be about 2 months before they can get all the information or all the, evidence they need to put Harvey Keitel away.
So they're going to hide her with a bunch of nuns. And of course, since she's like a Reno girl, she's obviously going to clash with the nuns. But she does find a connection with the nuns because they have a choir, and she's going to teach them essentially how to sing. Once again, begrudgingly.
She doesn't find the connection. Maggie Smith finds the connection.
But either way, she's going to teach these nuns how to sing. This is going to help the church. It's going to help the community. And basically, her unorthodox style of bringing awareness to the church overall ends up being a good thing.
It integrates the church more into the community.
Exactly.
Which
so
benefits everyone.
I get it, the fact that the one connective tissue between the first one and the second one is that Dolores is going to do something unorthodox, I guess, to make people better and the community better. She doesn't do that in the
second one.
Well, she does show the kids.
The connective tissue, that's what the unfortunate...
She shows them how to be a choir.
I guess. The unfortunate reality is that the connective tissue to the director of the sequel is Whoopi Goldberg is a nun. I don't even think he understands that she's like a girl from Reno. I think the director thinks that she is actually like a reluctant nun. The sequel has no conflict or juxtaposition. It's just the nuns need her help again. And this is ridiculous. The nuns need Whoopi Goldberg's help. They know she is not a nun. They know she is a lounge singer. They need her help teaching children in San Francisco. So not even in the state anymore, not Reno, not Vegas, in San Francisco, which granted is where Whoopi Goldberg's character grew up, but the nuns don't know that.
Yeah.
So they're going out on a huge limb here, asking this lounge singer they met to teach music class at this San Francisco convent.
Well, not only that, it's also the fact that,
it's like, do these nuns know anyone else besides like Whoopi Goldberg and the other nuns?
Well, and also to stay with the nuns, like I understand that there are a lot of like nuns and priests that are teachers at like religious schools, but it's really just thrown. I feel like it's thrown in there that all of a sudden our favorite nuns from the first one happen to be teachers at the school at the second one. And so it's like not only, wait, Whoopi Goldberg's not a teacher. Are these nuns even teachers?
Apparently they are,
Apparently all of a sudden they are teachers and they're teaching math and everything like that. But, the reason...
And Whoopi Goldberg, she's a perfect teacher. No difficulty, no learning curve there. Just she goes in, she knows exactly what to do as a Reno lounge singer.
Well, that's the thing that Maggie Smith keeps saying, right? She's like, just wait till you see what she can do. Like she's a wild card.
She's a miracle worker.
Yeah.
Quite literally.
Yeah, and it's funny because when we talk about sequels on this podcast, like we like new worlds. We always talk about expanding.
Oh, we're
worlds.
in San Francisco now.
I know, but like we talk about like giving it a different environment and seeing this character adapt in a new environment. So it's kind of weird because like on paper, as I was thinking about it, I was like, this is kind of doing the right thing where it's taking our character and putting him in a new situation. The problem is I think
there's no conflict.
Well, no. You don't need her to be a nun. Yeah. The nun connection.
Well, you only need her to be a nun unless there's like witness protection angle. That there's no witness protection angle, so why is she going back to being a nun?
Yeah.
The big conflict is there is no, and it's absurd almost that there is a movie like this where there is no external conflict, there's no criminal angle, there's no witness protection angle, there's nothing resembling that except for the priests, which we can get into that conflict later. And then there's no inner conflict. There's no inner conflict with Whoopi Goldberg because she is immediately a fantastic teacher.
Yeah.
And I laughed really hard at this. There is no conflict with the students because they are all fantastic singers right out the get-go, and they're not really criminals. They have no terrible flaws. The worst flaw is that the one kid keeps falling asleep because he's working a job for his dad.
Yeah.
Like, and
who's
who's
the director?
Who's the director's cameo? Yeah, and it's just like, okay, it's like unfortunate. It's underprivileged teens. Like, he's 17.
Yeah.
He's got to work a job. He can't sleep, so he's falling asleep in class. And I know this is PG, but it's like that's the most difficult conflict that we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
And
I'll give you.
he's still a fantastic singer.
And I'll give you one last pitch too, just to kind of like, well, let's say we kept all these beats in there, but we just rearranged them around a little bit. Whoopi Goldberg has been staying in touch with the nuns, and I'm talking about the beginning of the second one now, and this is a fictitious.
Well, at the end
script.
of the first one, I think it's established that they're going to stay in touch.
Okay, so she continues to stay in touch. She is helping out within the community still. Upon one of her routine visits, Maggie Smith says, "Hey, we do need help. We need like a music advisor to go to this school because they used to win a lot of competitions and they used to be prestigious and everything. But the priests have been going very hardcore, even more hardcore than the nuns were, right, in the first one. So we need someone to go over there and kind of loosen things up a little bit. But don't rattle any, feathers, or in this case, blouses." So she goes over there and she knows that they have lost the last 4 years of that competition.
Yeah, so
she decides, she goes, "Hey, we need to put all our resources into this."
So the competition's the goal from the beginning.
Yeah. And she's like, because I've heard the kids sing immediately. Like, I got them to sing and they actually are really good. Yeah, they have some attitudes, but I'm not a teacher, I'm an advisor. So I can actually fix them on that.
Yeah.
And then, that's the driving force for the whole plot, because what essentially, and I already know the answer to this, but to go with you, what is the threat of the first act? If you look at the first movie, the threat is being killed and being found by the mobster.
It's life or death.
In the second one, the threat is, I guess, a group of priests and a man who runs the church, this old man who basically wants to sell the property.
There's no threat.
He wants to retire to get his money, and they're giving up on the school. It's the top educators basically giving up on the school and trying to get rid of it.
They don't think they care. They're just taking a payday.
Well, the old guy's just taking a payday.
The old guy's like, I'm selling the property. Who would have thought that this Catholic school isn't making any money? So I'm gonna turn a profit by selling it because it's in a good location and kick the kids out. And then at the 65 minute mark, the kids find out what's happening, and then the stakes are revealed.
Yeah.
I got to be the first one in my family to graduate high school, and it's going to be so much more difficult if I have to transfer schools because this one closes. That's an actual that's a stake.
Yeah.
And it happens toward the end.
Yeah.
And it's commented on once, and then it's never addressed again.
It's just really hard because, I think in general, and I know we're getting kind of repetitive here because we know that there's no stakes. We know that there's no villain. The villain is the old man. His name is Mr. Crisp. He's played by James Coburn. And, yeah, he's not really invested in the school. And
he's a stooge.
Well, the funniest thing I could say about him...
He's like the butt of physical comedy jokes.
The funniest thing about him is that whenever you do get to see these montages, which there are a lot of montages, which we'll come back around to real quickly, but every time there's a montage of just everything kind of getting better, you always kind of cut to this old man peeking his head around the corner being like, "What's going on over there? Are they fixing my school? Don't fix my school."
Which is not even he stands to gain nothing either way. It is established.
Well,
the school is going to be retired regardless of what Whoopi Goldberg does until the 60-minute mark when the competition becomes a factor.
Yeah.
So when he's spying on them, are they improving my school? Who cares? You're gonna get your way either way. The audience knows that.
But he goes to the extent.
It's not even the absence of stakes. It is the script telling you, hey, there's no stakes. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Well,
this is just a movie that you can have on in the background.
He's so against Dolores that he is going to, with the priests, drive to the competition to try to stop it.
At the end, yeah.
At the end. Third act. And by the way, even just those scenes of the priests and the main villain driving to go stop the show. That was a scene, for example, where I was like, this is not the first movie. Because there's this really wacky, it's a comedy and
one of the priests
music
is driving.
Playing. Yeah.
And he's a very the joke is he's a very aggressive driver, but he's a mellow priest.
Yeah, well, he's a priest, but he also says he yells at people because they can't drive and that all their lives are at risk because he's driving. driving. He doesn't have a license either, I guess. And then when they actually get to the show, the priests have a change of heart, and then they decide to trick the villain and like I guess just lock him in a closet or whatever.
Trick is a generous word, yeah.
Yeah, but he doesn't even come back after he goes in that closet. I have a theory that he died.
No, he comes back.
Oh, what does he come
Did
back?
you fall asleep? Yeah, he comes back and says like, Maggie Smith, I found out that this isn't a nun. This is Dolores, the lounge singer. And then they essentially just say, shut the fuck up.
I mean, at the end of this movie, when our hero looks up and says,
Go with God, Crispy.
I mean, that is a moment.
And I think like what's also really interesting about this is like we don't even see Dolores in the first one get into the nun outfit. She doesn't get into the sister act until probably like after the 40-minute mark.
Yeah, it's
Right,
late.
but especially in the second one,
It's early.
she's in that sister act again within the first like 12 minutes of the movie.
She's in the nun getup like the whole movie for the sequel. She's in at least a few different looks for the original.
Yeah.
And it's like the same with her character. It's like she, like I said, like the director and the character both forgot that she's not actually a nun.
Yeah.
They're
And also, because they have this whole thing in the third act where the priest and the old man, they find out that she is like a Reno singer, like a stage singer.
Yeah.
So they need to like go stop the show and they need to tell everybody about her. Well, I'll tell you what, here's how you fix that. Introduce that earlier as well, because they do this whole reveal in the final show, the main competition show, where all the kids take off like their outfits, their church outfits, and they just wear their clothes, the clothes that they identify with.
street clothes.
Yeah, and it's all just about kind of like, individual expression. Now, if that's how you're going to end the movie, if that's how you're going to like kick off the big final performance, then introduce this whole thing with Whoopi Goldberg earlier. That way, when the kids find out that she's just like a stage singer, she goes, all right, you know what? And then she takes off the nun outfit. And she goes, you know what? I'll continue to advise here, but I'm going to do it my way as me.
In the current movie, she loves the nuns. And then at the end, she's like, no, fuck the robes. Dress to express yourselves. And it's just like, what?
So it feels like all the beats that are there could have been like even more impactful to maybe where critics would have liked it. And I understand, like, at the end of the day, you don't need to make a movie for critics. Like, if anybody resonates with the movie, that's great. But it's like, it's all there.
Yeah.
It's right there.
You have the $80 million that you're spending on the budget. Like, you might as well, like, not be asleep at the wheel when it comes to basic story structure.
Well, speaking of budget, Drew, the first one has a budget of $31 million and it grossed over $231 million worldwide, right? And then the second sister act has a budget of $38 million and it only made $124.6 million.
Which is still decent.
It's still decent, but yeah, it was not it was not as impactful, I guess, as the first one. Because the last thing I'll say about the first one is, even though I don't think the first one's perfect, but I do think
it's engaging.
It's engaging. The plot is silly, but it at the same time
that's what helps it.
It makes sense because it's like it kind of makes sense and it's silly. And then I will say that less is more, but in a different way. Meaning, like, yes, I would have preferred more songs in the first one with the nuns, but the fact that when they do sing, it's just in a church. You know what I mean? It's very like, it's small scale, but the performances are pretty big. That was impactful, and I thought the music was the best part of the first one. And more than that, Dolores teaching the nuns how to sing and seeing them kind of like find themselves was the best part of that first one.
Because she doesn't teach the students in the sequel. She teaches the nuns more than she teaches her students.
Now, I will say that the final performance in the second one was also good, but I do really think it's because Lauryn Hill is just phenomenal.
As an actor?
No, as a singer.
Okay, yeah.
And also,
but as an actor.
Well, she also was considered one of like the top 100 greatest musician artist performances. And Janelle Monáe said that what inspired her to be an actress was at a young age watching Lauryn Hill act in this. And I don't think like the performances are necessarily bad. I really do think it's a script issue.
I don't know if it was script because Lauryn Hill's character was kind of not great, but that character really kind of like fell flat for me. The problem is you already strike out twice with the plot. Or the stakes. So at the very least you have the Lauryn Hill character, who is essentially the main student who has the most conflict with Whoopi Goldberg's, I'm doing air quotes, teaching.
Well, she's got the most conflict of anybody in the group because her mom doesn't want her to sing.
Her mom's like, yeah.
And even though I think Lauryn Hill's performance is good, I think it is inherently silly that her mom's like, and there's like crosses in their house, and the mom is still like, but you're not singing this church music.
She is like, it is so funny because she sends her daughter to a Catholic school, but she's like, you're going to study and you're going to be like a scientist or something. And it's like, she's singing gospel music and she's going to a competition where she's probably going to win. Why are you being such a hard ass?
Yeah, Cheryl Lee Ralph from Abbott Elementary and like a bunch of other stuff. Like just seeing her be like, don't you go down the same road that your father did.
It reminded me of like that South Park parody where it was the High School Musical
Yeah.
flip. You're not going to play basketball in my house.
I also do think that Whoopi Goldberg doesn't do a bad job singing, but it is inherently silly to watch her try to teach Lauryn Hill how to sing.
Yeah. But anyway, like I said, I don't know if it's the Lauryn Hill character's performance or the way she's written, but it might be the way she's written because, like I said, I'm so desperate for a steak here, and if anything, you're gonna get it from like the moody teenager who they're spending all the screen time on, but there's nothing. And that's like the last straw for me. It's like, all right, 3 strikes.
Yeah.
God damn you, Lauryn Hill. Why is it all your fault that there's no stakes in this?
Well, the point where I kind of was like, okay, now I'm starting to get frustrated was when Dolores brings the nuns back to inspire the kids. Right, and
that's when you lost it.
They're gonna put on like a performance for like some old people, and all the kids are gonna be there. And Dolores is gonna be like, "Let me show you like what singing in a choir is all about." And I'm like, "Well, hey, at least at the end of the day, we're gonna get another choir performance with the original nuns."
It wasn't very good.
They picked a weird song.
Yeah. And it was funny because then the students were like, Whoopi Goldberg was talking to him afterwards on the bus, and they're like, "Yeah, we don't like that."
Yeah.
I think, all right, well, at least I guess they did their job with that weird performance.
She's like, "What do you think?" They're like, "I mean, it was okay."
Yeah.
But
So, what you guys think?
Well, it was okay.
It was okay. What about you?
It was cool for what it was, but it wasn't all that.
They're literally like, we don't want to look like fools.
yeah, we don't want to look like that, which is so weird because it was so emotional in the first one, and there was such like an earnestness to the way that they sing. And then it was fun to see them put these kind of spins on the songs because you're watching a bunch of like, I don't know, introverted people finally be extroverted, right? And now you have a bunch of extroverted kids that have to be slightly introverted and kind of come together to sing in harmony.
What they should have done is they should have had all these extroverted kids, but none of them can sing, so they're all super self-conscious about it, so they become introverted.
Or well, you're taking it more in like a mental.
I'm just something, man. Give me something.
I'm saying that they're extrovert in the sense where they're children, they're young, they don't know how to not talk over each other. They don't know how to work in unison. So then they see these old nuns come in and just kind of rock the house in unison and also be very selfless with the way that they sing. Some of them quiet down while others get louder. The kids could have been inspired by that and been like, man, can you believe like if we sing together we can sound like that? But instead the nuns, like we said, put down a really weird performance. The kids are like, we don't like that. And then eventually they just learn how to sing in unison together.
The plot's doing a lot of legwork here because that's just making sure that everything's happening, because there's the pieces for a good movie in this sequel, but it just feels like the screenwriter does everything they can to, because there's 3 screenwriters, feel like they just do everything they can to avoid building those characters.
And to be honest, like even though that first Sister Act isn't the funniest compared to the second one, I would say it's much funnier.
I don't care about either of them being funny. It's just the first one's a better movie.
Well, the thing is like these are comedy sequels. And we're doing like, good comedies. And with the first one, I would say that there is like a charm to it where you do have Dolores's kind of like, I don't know, what would you call her demeanor? Almost like, get out of here.
I don't know, because it's not consistent. It shifts entirely in the sequel.
It's a little dry. It's a little it's very heavy on like expressions, I would say. And overall, I would say her presence is like felt. Like when Whoopi Goldberg's on screen, she does like have your attention. And, she is like a comedy icon. And she did come up like with 2 of the greatest like kind of performers being Billy Crystal and Robin Williams. So I do think that in the first one, she does have more character. Even if it's inconsistent, it's still enjoyable to watch. And
it's consistent in the first one.
Yeah, in the first one, that's what I'm talking about.
It's not consistent in the second one.
Yeah, the second one, it just feels kind of like, because we don't really know why she's even doing this.
Yeah.
She does get
That's
guilt.
what, because that's the thing, is they make it seem like she just likes, it goes a step further from she just wants to help her friends. It's like, oh, she likes being a nun.
Well, she gets guilted by Maggie Smith.
And she gets guilted by Maggie Smith.
'Cause
So
that's
that's
like
always strong character motivation, especially religious guilt. Which, to be fair, let's go ahead and talk about all the callbacks in this sequel. There were two.
What were the two?
It was the lounge singing in the beginning, and then the religious guilt.
Yeah, I guess there was a moment where we both thought that there was going to be a callback that actually would have been good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a great moment in the first one where she's trying to get the quiet nun.
Sister Mary.
Yeah, Sister Mary Robert, because she's like
Mary Robert.
Yeah, she's the most quiet, introverted nun, and she she's got this thing that she wants to burst outside of her or whatever. So they're singing, and then Whoopi Goldberg is trying to get her to sing louder. And then as she's singing, she places her hand on her stomach and kind of pushes in, opening up her pipes, and she lets out a big burst of a note that's beautiful, right? And it's very inspiring. It's like, oh, I didn't know I could sing like that. It's like, yeah, it's in your diaphragm. Like, you just got to push it. And then in the second one, she's trying to get Ryan Toby to also speak
Is that the character name or the actor's name?
That's the actor's name.
Okay.
She's trying to get him to sing loud because he's got a good voice, but it's very quiet. It's a little squeaky. He's going through puberty. And she's like, come here, get over here. And I'm like, oh, she's going to do it. She's going to do her thing where he's going to sing, and then she's going to grab his tummy and push in. And she doesn't do it.
Well, it's funny because
He just does it on his own.
It's during a performance. He has a solo, so he steps forward to the conductor's podium where she's standing.
Yeah.
So she's in arm's reach. So when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, there's a reason they're doing this blocking.
They're almost touching shoulders.
Exactly. They're like, essentially, they're organically already that close. They're going to do it. Like,
Yeah.
the director's not asleep on the day. He's seen the original. He sees the blocking. Even if it's not in the script, he's going to have her do it. She doesn't do it.
Yeah.
She just keeps having them sing the song
Yeah.
until, and then she's like, they're close, so she's like commenting to him.
Yeah.
And then he ends up eventually projecting more. God damn. This movie was like a chore to watch.
Whoa. Watch the blasphemy on this episode.
God bless it.
When Jesus washed. When Jesus washed. When Jesus washed. When Jesus washed. Jesus washed.
Well, we're waiting.
You know, the last thing I'll say, just in regards to comparison to the first one and the second one, is I was told by somebody that the second one had more music, and no, they don't.
That person's a liar.
This kind of reminded me of the Blues Brothers because I felt like this second one made me like the first one a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because those moments when the nuns do sing and come together, I felt like it was very, like, I don't know, I just felt like it was very inspiring, right? And I do think it's inspiring when the kids sing in the second one, but you know, there's just such few numbers. And I know we also kind of touched on this a little bit, but just to kind of bookend it, like, you know, this is a comedy and this is a comedy sequel, and like, truly, like, can you remember like a joke in this second movie that and I'm not even trying to be like negative or insulting the film or anything like that. Like, I'm genuinely trying to be like, what was there like a setup or a joke, or was there
I
like
remember
a gag?
I remember a lot of boring dialogue. I
Yeah.
remember like,
because there were gags.
I remember like, why is this scene here? There's no jokes. It's not fun. This is a comedy. It's like Maggie Smith talking to like the main priest. I'm like,
Yeah. There was one callback joke that we did forget about that's from the first one, which is the pianist nun. She has a hearing device and she has to turn on her battery to hear. And that was like an ongoing gag in the first one. And then the one appearance she has in the second one, you know, Dolores goes up to her and is like, you know, tap, tap. And she's like, turns on her microphone and gives that big smile or whatever. But that's before the big weird number that the nuns kind of put on. And since we're talking comedy, I guess, you know, we have to talk about Sister Mary Patrick, which is Kathy Najimy, because she is the comic relief in both the first and the second one. But
is it comic relief or is it just?
I mean, she's the over optimistic. She's got the
excited.
one line. Yeah, and the second one, I honestly I just kind of found her like annoying.
Because you have she's the extrovert. So in the first one, when you're with all these nuns, it makes sense.
Yeah.
When you're with all these extroverted teens, it's like, oh boy, it's just another loud character.
Well, she's got that one weird line where she's teaching to the kids in like one of the classes, and they're like, you know, what do you know about, you know, sex? You're a nun, and she says like, just because I haven't like tasted the donut,
you don't need to taste the donut to know how sweet it is.
Yeah. And I was like, ugh.
You can't answer any questions about sex.
Oh, don't be so sure.
You don't have to bite the donut to know it's sweet.
That's disgusting.
So as always on this podcast, we ask 3 questions lead to a final vote of was it worth going back again? And the first question is, does it work as a sequel?
Nope. The big thing for me for this one is they don't get the character. The character, this one is almost, it's so funny because the problem is usually they don't change the character enough. The character always regresses. This one, the character changed too much, or it just seems like a different character. This character likes being a nun. This character is gung-ho for not being a lounge singer.
Yeah.
This character is not the character from the first movie. And that makes it a basic failure as a sequel for me when the protagonist is no longer themselves. And it's conflicting a little bit because it's still, I don't know, it's the same personality, but the motivations are complete. They're like night and day.
Yeah.
But that's enough for me to find enough fault with it. That's enough for me to find fault with it.
Yeah, and it's also hard because we've seen sequels that are kind of like soft reboots. We've seen sequels that are just complete copies of the first one. And with this one, like...
It doesn't feel like they saw the first movie.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So is it a soft reboot because it reestablishes...
No, because it would be more intentional.
Like Dolores being... Because like what would be the thing that you would connect? It'd be Dolores being an unorthodox person who finds ways of bringing out like the goodness in people through music, right? Like she needs to be in charge of a group of people that need to come together and she can bring them together.
Yeah, they needed to do...
But is that...
They needed to do the nun thing or they needed to do the teacher thing. The teacher and a nun thing was too much. It got too confused.
Yeah, so I think it doesn't work as a sequel for a new reason, which is interesting because it like overshoots the plot where it doesn't have any connective tissue. And I feel like if you didn't watch the first one, you would be like, who is this person and why is she doing what she's doing? And if you watch the first one, then with this, you'd be like...
You're kind of more confused.
You're kind of more confused because you're like, why is she coming back to do this? Just because I guess she loves the nuns and she wants to help out. But
still, like for me, it was like, why are the nuns going to her to teach?
Yeah, and like just to finish it up, it's like this could have...
At the very least, the nuns could have known it was her school, but they don't even know that. She tells them, oh, that was my old school.
Yeah, but like I said, like it should work as a sequel because it is a new world, it is new challenges, it is new dynamics. But the problem I really think is that she did not need to be a nun. She really didn't need to be a nun.
Or there needed to be more, the plot needed to bend more toward the reason why she was a nun.
Well,
like she had to be a nun in the first one because it was life or death. It needed to be a secret that she kept again with life or death stakes.
Well, you remember earlier when I pitched that she gets rid of the nun outfit earlier in the movie because she gets exposed, and then that's what kind of prompts the kids to drop just to wear their clothes in the final performance.
Yeah.
If you do that, you call this movie Sister Act 2, Dropping the Act.
Oh!
There's your sequel.
Yeah.
All right. So that sounds like it's going to get 2 X's right off the bat. So the next question is going to be, is it enjoyable / entertaining? This is a comedy. This is a comedy sequel. Even if there's like, earnest inspirational moments within the comedy, just, across the board, is it enjoyable / entertaining?
Nope. I wouldn't hold it to such a high standard if it wasn't a comedy.
Yeah.
But it presents itself as a comedy and it was not funny.
Yeah.
There were like... I don't like when there's boring scenes in general, so God help you if there's a boring scene in your comedy. There were so many boring scenes in this movie.
Yeah.
To be fair, I don't think they usually weren't Whoopi Goldberg scenes. They were like side character scenes.
Yeah.
But still.
I mean, at the height of this, I guess one of like the funnier gags is when she gets glued to the chair.
No, it wasn't.
Well, I'm saying the way it's presenting itself. We didn't find it funny, but the fact that she's like doesn't know she's gonna sit in the glue, and then she gets stuck to the chair and she's got to roll down the hallway.
Well, the whole thing was like the kid kept stopping her from doing it, and
Yeah.
I looked at you and I was like, "Isn't the kid on like the other kid's side? Why does he keep stopping her from sitting in the glue? The kids want her to sit in the glue."
So it's like, in theory, these characters are enjoyable, this world is enjoyable, and there's a lot of entertaining factors to it, but in execution, I didn't think it was enjoyable / entertaining either. And it stinks because I would say that the first one is enjoyable / entertaining, even if it's not a laugh riot. Like, because you are invested in the plot, you are intrigued. You do want to see what happens, I would say, across the board, because there are stakes. But yeah, it's just hard. Once again, it's a little bit of a swing and a miss, and it is not enjoyable / entertaining. So that sounds like it's going to get another 2 X's. And, I feel like we're just going to get crucified online for this if people really love this movie.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
But So the last question is going to be, does it need to exist? And I'm going to start off this one, and I'm going to say, knowing what I know about the history of it and seeing the influence it has had on just generations of people and also musicians and actors, I would say, yeah, it needs to exist. Now, does it need to exist in the context? Does it need to exist in the context of this franchise? It's kind of hard because I think with this one, there's almost, it's too close to the elephant. There's too many people that really love it. I personally don't think I need to watch the second one, but if it has had a positive kind of impact on society, then I'll be a little less critical and I'll say yes, it needs to exist.
I don't want to just copy your answer. I was gonna try to just.
I
was gonna try to squeeze mine in
because
first.
You're gonna get yelled at by our one viewer.
I'm actually gonna take a double risk, and I'm gonna say no. It doesn't need to exist.
Okay.
Just because, and this is something that I don't like in general. I don't like giving film, TV, media a pass on being like bad or especially lazy, just because it checks a box in the social commentary section.
Yeah.
I think that if you're dealing with things like representation, you need to be even more invested in story, not being like, oh, this has representation in it. We can just kind of kick back in the story. No one's going to care. They're going to care that there's representation in it. They're not going to care that it's a good story. You got to be at 100% when it comes to these stories. Leaning on the crutch and being like, well, it was socially relevant, so it doesn't need to be good. Yeah, I don't like doing that. So I'm going to say it gets an X for me.
Well, you heard it here first. If you are somebody who had a personal connection to this movie and you were inspired by it and you appreciated the representation and you found a little bit of yourself in it, well, guess what? According to Drew, you're wrong.
I'll tell you what, I hope it inspired you to make something better.
So if you're doing that math at home, that's going to be 5 X's and 1 check. So it is going to get, unfortunately, 1 giant X for not worth going back again. And yeah, I don't know. This was definitely an interesting but overall disappointing viewing. But it's also been interesting just reading up about it kind of after the fact. And you know what they say, there's 3 acts to any story. So we got to finish it off with one more sister act.
There's sister act, there's back in the act, and then there's
what I pitched.
No, what's the one you said?
Yeah, drop in the act.
Drop in the act, yeah.
And this next thing I'm going to say is silly, and I don't think that it needs to do this, but I would have liked it if one time in any of these 2 movies, if Dolores said, like, I'm done with this sister act.
Yeah, they never say sister act in the movie, which is like, it's a good title, so you think they would say it.
I would think Harvey Keitel would say the first one, like, it's an act!
A sister act!
As always, thanks everybody for listening. If you like this episode, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe below. You can listen to all these episodes available wherever you listen to podcasts. Or you could watch these episodes with video on YouTube. Just subscribe to What a Guy Productions. Special shout out to Neely for doing our intro and our outro song. And outside of that, Drew, you got anything else to add?
Well, it was okay.
It was okay. What about you?
It was cool for what it was, but it wasn't all that.
All right, everyone. We will see you next time.
Bye, 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 girl. Bye, bye.